In the past few years, we've heard the term free agents and been told we would all need to become one in order to succeed. The recent economic structures have helped to promote this concept as reality. Where do we get the tools to take control of our career path in the present and future? Welcome to The Career Confidant with your host, Marie Zimenoff. Marie and her guest experts are here to provide you with the tools you need to move forward and achieve your career goals. Now, here is Marie Zimenoff.
Hello and welcome to the Career Confidant, and we are always here talking about things you need to know to take your career to the next level, and skills that maybe you don't even think about, or tools you haven't thought about that could help you do that. So today we're going to be talking about a technology that my guess is you're aware of, and maybe you're using for your own personal use, maybe you're using it for business use, and maybe you haven't really thought about how you could use it for your business or your career. I was talking to some of my colleagues in the careers industry today and talking about how we can engage and reach younger audiences. And of course, the new social media that are coming around that help us do that. Some of us who've been in the field longer or maybe older are not so familiar with, or maybe starting to use for personal use, but really haven't thought about how we can use it for our work. Now, what's interesting is that all these new technologies don't just attract you and me as individuals, or you and me as business owners or as consumers, but they also start to attract hiring managers. So for people who are in job search, it becomes important to realize where hiring managers are going and what they're looking for there. And then in general, where people are hanging out, because if we want to use some of these tools to network or brand ourselves or to maintain our business or build a business, that's where we want to be. Now, the challenge, of course, with social media is always that there's so much to know, so many channels to be on, so many things that you could be doing. It gets overwhelming. So we're going to start with a little reminder of other ways to vet social media before you feel like, oh my gosh, I just have to jump in and do this. Because today we're going to be talking about Instagram and how do you build a presence on Instagram? How do you connect with people on Instagram? But before we do that, let's just kind of slow it down and talk about, is it something that you need? Is it something that's going to help you? And I like to start with that question by looking at the kind of global data. So Instagram is one of the fastest growing social media. They are stealing a lot of users from Facebook, actually. People are tired of the politics and ads on Facebook, so they're switching over to Instagram, although Instagram is starting to get quite a few of their own ads, so we'll see how long that lasts. But on Instagram, of course, you just have pictures. So it is one of the faster growing sites. 600 million people use it. Most users are there more regularly than people are on something like LinkedIn. People are pretty regular on Facebook and Instagram if they're using it, because it's a daily interactive platform versus something like LinkedIn, which has a lot of users, but not that many daily users or even monthly users, because people don't think about it as something they go to every day. So that's one of the benefits of Instagram and Facebook for marketers, is that people are there on a regular basis. So Instagram is growing. Instagram, kind of the last couple of years, they would have said was growing mostly with the millennial population and younger. So you're talking about people that are 35 and younger. But now that we're seeing people come over from Facebook, you're getting, kind of that flow upward to Gen X and even some baby boomers moving over to Instagram because of the flow from Facebook. But mostly what you're going to see on Instagram is probably people that are 35 or younger. The real young folks are Gen Z, who are 21, 22 and younger, are on Snapchat. We're not going to talk too much about Snapchat today. But those folks are usually on Instagram as well as on Snapchat. So is Instagram right for you or not? There's kind of the global picture. You have 600 million monthly users. You have mostly the age group of 35 and under, although that's starting to creep a little bit upward. And you have people obviously that are there to look at pictures. It's a very visual site. It's interactive. It's real time. You can stream video on Instagram or post video on Instagram. So it's in some ways similar to Facebook in those functions. And you can post words along with your picture, but there's no posts that don't include pictures. And there are very few kind of news related posts. I've just started following some news outlets on Twitter and will be interested to see how their posts there are different than what they might be posting on Facebook. So who is getting on to Instagram business-wise? Businesses that go to Instagram usually have something fun that's visual to post. So travel companies, a lot of consumer product companies, fashion, anything that they can come up with where they can post a picture, they're going to start posting on Instagram with those visuals in a much more engaging way than you'll see on a lot of the other platforms because they have to be engaging there. And so they're posting about their new products, posting pictures of people using the products, etc. You're also seeing a good deal of recruiters migrate to this platform, especially those recruiters who are targeting younger employees. So your recruiters who are focused on campus recruitment, your recruiters who have been looking at those young people, maybe trying to get those new graduates, trying to get that age group to their company. Maybe they're having a hard time recruiting millennials. Maybe they're, again, the person on the recruiting team who's in charge of on-campus recruiting. And they are starting to go to Instagram because it's an easy way to connect directly with that audience, to know that they will find that audience there. So they are posting pictures of things their company is doing. I think I talked about a few weeks ago, I have a colleague who's a recruiter, does on-campus recruiting for a company, and they post when they're traveling, the sites that they're at. They post pictures of their booths at career fairs, etc., and engage with that population there. This is what's nice for you as a job seeker or even as a consumer when you're on a platform like Instagram, is that the people who are posting from these companies are going to engage with you. It's not a one-way street like Facebook can be, especially with ads, or LinkedIn definitely is, where companies are posting, but then it's hard to connect with whoever posted that. You know, you have to be linked in first, or you have to be friends on Facebook. Instagram has a little bit less of that barrier to entry, similar to what we find and like about the Twitter platform. So when we think about Instagram and this visual and it's growing, you may think, oh, that's just not for me. And that's possible. So the other thing I would encourage you to do is go and research if the people you're interested in connecting with are there. So if you are a job seeker and you're interested in working for specific companies, hopefully you have that company list started, one of your prominent job search tools, go on to Instagram and see, does your company, your target company, do they have Instagram profiles? Maybe you can use LinkedIn to do a little bit of research, find the names of some of their employees, their recruiters, their managers, and see if any of those people individually have Instagram profiles. If they're a recruiter and they're on Instagram, it'll be pretty obvious that they are connected to their company and posting things about their company there on Instagram. So do that research. Are there people like you on Instagram that, maybe are taking advantage of hiring managers being there and you're not? If you run a business or you are a leader, of a company in a company, go to Instagram and see if the people you want to connect with are there. So are your employees there? Would there be of benefit to you to be there and build relationships, be more accessible as a manager? Tell you what, if you want to retain those younger employees, part of what is going to help you do that is being accessible, having those relationships, and you can do part of that on a platform like Instagram. Engage with them there, share your life with them, because that's where this level of communication is going, that people really want that authentic connection, you accessible as a person, and you can do that a little bit on Instagram. If you are a business owner, is your target audience on Instagram? Are there other competitors like yours on Instagram, and what are they doing? What types of posts are they posting? What types of pictures are they sharing? And is that something that might be of interest and of use to your business? So no, by no means do we need to just jump into this because it's the newest, hottest thing and it's growing. You really want to look at, is your audience there? And maybe take a little bit of open-minded approach there, because it might be easy to just think no right off the bat. Do that research, poke around and see, are your competitors there? Are your peers there? Are your target companies there? Is your target audience there? And what might those people be doing on this platform that you could learn from as you think about jumping on? You might think, oh, I just do all my things on LinkedIn. Again, LinkedIn has a very low monthly visitor rate, even though they have a lot of profiles. Very few people going there regularly, so it's not engaging people on a regular basis. Your most engaging platforms, the ones that people go to on a regular basis, giving you more opportunity to form a relationship, more opportunity to connect to them, to be in front of them, are kind of from the top down. Facebook. So Facebook has the most billion, if in fact a billion monthly users, if this graph I'm reading is correct. Otherwise it will all be relative. Then YouTube, which has 1 million monthly visitors, and that is growing because of the YouTube TV, and of course younger generations unplugging from cable and going to something like YouTube TV. So that's the second most. Then your third most is Instagram, and the fourth is Twitter. And LinkedIn is all the way down here at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, 10, 13th. So Instagram is 13th on this list, where the top ones are Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. A whole bunch of other stuff in there like Reddit, Tumblr, Flickr, and all the way down there, 13th is LinkedIn. So yes, LinkedIn might be good for your business, might be good for your career, but chances are that one of those other big four, where people are more often, would be a good complement to your social media strategy in addition to LinkedIn. So what do we want to do specifically on Instagram? We're going to dive into that more when we get back. How can you attract recruiters? How can you build a brand there on Instagram? We'll be right back in just a few minutes.
Voice America Business Network, the bottom line in business. You know that the career landscape has changed and that you need to be proactive about managing your career. You can have the foresight, skills, and confidence you need to take charge of your career and seize opportunities. A strategic advantage and career expert, Marie Zimenoff has helped thousands of leaders like you get focused, get found, and get hired. Visit getcareersmart.com to find out more. That's getcareersmart.com or call 800-521-2080 to schedule your complimentary consultation.
Each week, Larry Sternberg joins Dr. Kim Turnage to explore management issues from culture to discipline in Managing to Make a Difference. Join Talent Plus for 60 minutes of dynamic conversation, including real-life management examples helping you manage teams across the globe. This series airs on Voice America, the Business Channel, Thursdays at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. Managing to Make a Difference every Thursday afternoon with Larry Sternberg and Dr. Kim Turnage.
You hear about it all the time. Compromises, destructive malware, major breaches. You can't turn on the news without hearing about the latest cyber event. Learn more about cybersecurity, how it has become one of the most significant threats to our national security, and the battle experts undergo every day on your behalf to protect you, your families, and your data. Task Force 7 Radio with host George Reedus is the voice of cybersecurity around the world. Tune in live every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific on the Voice America Business Channel.
Follow us on Twitter at VoiceAmericaTRN. Get the lowdown on guests, new shows, and your favorites. That's VoiceAmericaTRN.
From the boardroom to you, Voice America Business Network.
You are tuned in to The Career Confidant with Marie Zimenoff. If you have a question or comment for Marie or her guest today, please call 1-866-472-5790. That's 1-866-472-5790. You may also send an email to marie@astrategicadvantage.com. Now, back to The Career Confidant.
Welcome back to The Career Confidant. And before we went to break, we were just talking about all the different social media channels and some strategies for researching if your audience or target audience is there. And my producer here so kindly reminded me that I hadn't mentioned Pinterest. So I had to go back to my graph here, the 15 most popular networking sites. And Pinterest is 8th. And this is in terms of those daily or monthly users, so the amount of time that someone comes back there. So Pinterest is there. Pinterest is pretty low on the list for recruiters. So obviously some recruiters are using it in specialty areas like design, maybe travel, design of all kinds, graphic design, home design. So there's going to be specific industries where it makes sense for someone to recruit off of Pinterest. For the most part, I find Pinterest to be the place where they've done a really good job of making it that if you're searching something and there's a graphic or an infographic that represents that, it will come up on Pinterest, which works well. In terms of job search, not huge. Some people are putting more infographic type resumes there. I don't find that a general recruiter is searching that way to where your Pinterest resume is going to come up. If you're in one of those industries that makes sense, definitely. If you're in, technology, finance, marketing, maybe marketing, depending on the type of marketing, it's probably not going to work for the majority of careers for that Pinterest resume to show up when a recruiter searches just because it's on Pinterest. Doesn't mean you can't have one, and maybe that infographic resume serves a different purpose, but probably not going to find a ton of job search activity going on Pinterest. Different visual, and a lot of the same visuals people are using on Pinterest could be used on Instagram, and perhaps have a little bit more engagement with an audience there who's there for your specific reason. So thinking about that and doing your research, this graphic that I'm looking at, the 15 popular social networking sites, is from DreamGrow. So an opportunity for you to kind of do that research. And the URL there is buildfire.com/social media trends 2017. So social media trends 2017, they're a infographics that would probably show up if you searched that on Pinterest, just to give you an idea of what those top sites are. And then of course do the research yourself to find out what sites make sense for you, your audience, your business. Where are your competitors? What are they doing? Where is your audience? So if they do happen to be on Instagram, or you're thinking about, is Instagram for you and you want to try it, it's pretty easy to get started as far as setting up your profile. If you are a leader or a job seeker, you want to think about how you put in your profile in a way that helps you and like any social media, you're kind of walking that line between personal and professional. If you're overly professional on any social media, but especially ones like Instagram or Facebook, it'll be a turnoff to people. They are not looking to connect with you that way. They're looking to connect with you as a person. So you want to blend that professional and personal on these kinds of social media channels. And when you post pictures, you're thinking about how can you have a good mix, things that might be personal and professional. Maybe you've got some motivational quotes that you want to post, some memes, if you will. You're also posting real pictures of your life, and then some of the pictures that relate to your work. So if you're doing presentations, if you're doing any of those other work activities where you can take pictures, and of course this works really well for like my recruiter friend who can take pictures of she and her team at their conference booth or their job search booth, their career fair booth. What makes sense to post that can be fun and engaging, and also share a little bit about what you do professionally if you're looking to build your personal brand there on Instagram. So when we think about Instagram and you're thinking about pictures, of course we have some of the same concerns there for you as an individual as we do on Facebook, making sure that we're not posting things that are inappropriate, but we don't have to be overly prescriptive, overly, if you post a picture of you drinking a glass of wine, as long as you're of age, that's fine. We're not talking about never posting anything like that. What we are talking about is not posting things that might be illegal or really unbecoming, like doing a keg stand or being really visibly drunk. We're going to have some of those same concerns for you on Instagram that we had on Facebook in terms of your pictures. For those of you who might just be getting started, and maybe especially if you're maybe a little bit more privacy concerned, think about what does make sense for you, the areas of your life that do make sense. Think about and you may even kind of create themes at the beginning. So I'm going to share about sports and, sports and motivational quotes. Maybe you don't want to share pictures of your kids. That's fine. Pick some other themes that do work for you, and you'll be able to share. Maybe even thinking about your professional in a few themes and your personal for a few themes. You'll want to find a balance of posting those two that is at least 70% personal, and then you can get that 30% professional in there. People don't want to see you posting over and over again about professional stuff on Instagram, because that's not the purpose of the medium, right? That's not why people are there. So you're on there to create your personal brand, which is a combination of that personal and professional life. So you want things to be workplace appropriate, but not so bland that you don't have a personality, right? So thinking about how you want to walk that line of personal and professional. You can set your privacy settings just like any other account. If you go too deep there and make everything private, it kind of defeats the purpose of being there. So figuring out how you want to post things there. And I always consider that everything you post could be public at some time. So even if you think something is private or you're posting something is private, assume that at some point in time, your boss might see that picture. It's just a good thing to think, is that nothing on the internet is really ever private. You can use hashtags on Instagram, just like you can on Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn. You want to be careful to not overdo that, but you can connect yourself to your professional world or to your interests by using hashtags that are relevant. And maybe that's kind of how you pick your themes. Look at some of those hashtags and think about which ones are reoccurring for you. Sports, food, recipes, whatever it might be, you can pick some of those themes and maybe related to healthcare or to hashtags so that you could participate in groups and kind of join some of those communities by sharing with those hashtags. If you are doing Instagram or really any social media for job search, you want to follow those companies that you researched who are using Instagram for their company marketing for their hiring. So research those companies, find those Instagram accounts and follow them. Gives you the opportunity to interact with them and to see what they're doing. And again, a much more low barrier to entry way than something like LinkedIn. Instagram is great because you can learn a lot about a company's culture. They are going to be posting pictures, what's important to them, what are they capturing on a regular basis. You can use those posts, use that intel to come up with questions you want to ask during an interview and interact with those companies and employees right there on Instagram. It's really a great opportunity for those of you who are job seeking to get past the quote unquote gatekeeper that we always talk about, right? It gives you that opportunity to really connect with people through their stories, their Instagram stories. And you want to give them the opportunity to connect with you through yours. And that's the idea there of making sure that you're sharing both personal and professional information. By 2018, and this is some other predictions here, that there are going to be more and more companies joining on Instagram, and they recommend that you can even Google the company name plus Instagram to see if they have an Instagram account. So you don't have to join to do your research. You could just use Google that company name plus Instagram and see if they have that Instagram account. You can do the same thing, Googling to see if people have Instagram accounts for people. So you go to LinkedIn, get the name of some of those employees from LinkedIn, and then go to Instagram or go to Google and Google that employee's name plus Instagram to see if they have an account. So if you're job seeking, those are a great way to see who's there and get started looking at following those companies, building your own brand by posting pictures and making sure you're doing both personal and professional. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about how often do you post and some of those other specifics there on Instagram. We'll be right back in just a few minutes.
The business community's first choice in Internet Talk Radio, Voice America Business Network.
You know that the career landscape has changed and that you need to be proactive about managing your career. You can have the foresight, skills, and confidence you need to take charge of your career and seize opportunities. A strategic advantage and career expert, Marie Zimenoff has helped thousands of leaders like you get focused, get found, and get hired. Visit GetCareerSmart.com to find out more. That's GetCareerSmart.com or call 800-521-2080 to schedule your complimentary consultation.
Today we live in a truly global environment. Business can more easily be conducted now in almost any part of the world. How do you, as a business owner or professional, navigate the ever-changing business landscape? Tune in to Leadership Beyond Borders with host Kimberly J. Lewis. With a worldwide resource of guests, you'll find out what opportunities and challenges surround diverse and virtual organizations. Listen live every Tuesday at 3 p.m. U.S. Pacific Time on the Voice America Business Channel.
In this fast-paced, technologically driven world of business, the stress can be crushing. It's exhausting business leaders and burning out good employees. It is not enough to work from the top down. We must now learn to work from the inside out. Listen to Innovative Mindful Solutions with Terry Galler. We will discuss ways to transform roadblocking emotions using mindful-based tools you can incorporate into your business and your life right now. Don't stress. Tune in every Monday at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time on the Voice America Business Channel.
Think you've seen everything there is to see in online television? Let us surprise you. Visit voiceamerica.tv today for sports, health, business, and more on demand 24/7.
Voice America Business Network, the bottom line in business.
You are tuned in to The Career Confidant with Marie Zimenoff. If you have a question or comment for Marie or her guest today, please call 1-866-472-5790. That's 1-866-472-5790. You may also send an email to marie@astrategicadvantage.com. Now, back to The Career Confidant.
Welcome back to The Career Confidant. Today we're talking about Instagram and how you could use Instagram to further your career or your business, your personal brand. A great opportunity, especially if you want to connect with younger audience who are growing on Instagram. But in general, of course, the growth of Instagram is spreading and may be easier to get any kind of audience as it grows. So when do you want to post on Instagram? Kind of interestingly, there's research, tons of research about when are people there and when should you post. I would say, I'm going to say these things and then you want to post when it works for you, because really consistency is the biggest hurdle. And if these times don't work for you to post consistently, it won't matter that they're the times when maybe there's the best hit rate, because if you can't do it consistently, it's not going to matter. In general, kind of interesting that the best times to post are in the evenings or the middle of the night. Like one of the best times to post is at 2 a.m. Interesting. Anyways, you can post after work or right before work. That seems to be the best times to post. Posting a video on Instagram at 9 p.m. gets 34% more interactions. So people are sitting around watching TV and they're bored. Someone told me today, actually, one of my colleagues on our Career Thought Leader Associate calls came up with some other data that millennials switch between technologies, so laptop, phone, iPad, whatever, 27 times a day. 27 times a day. So it's highly likely that your millennial audience, who is big on Instagram, remember those folks are between 24 and 38, somewhere in there, they're sitting there perhaps watching TV, most likely watching YouTube TV or Netflix, maybe even on their laptop, and looking at their phone and perhaps watching an Instagram video while they're watching their Netflix show. So very interesting to think about that audience and what they're doing and the multitasking that they're doing. And I'm totally guilty of this. Yes, I'm in that millennial group. And as my colleague was talking about that, I'm watching her on my laptop. I'm doing email on my laptop and checking my phone all at the same time. So I did a show last week about how multitasking is bad. I'm trying to work on that. But in general, most people in this age group are doing it, and most people who are on Instagram are doing it. So if you want to be there, you want to connect with these folks, that's when they're there. If you're trying to get recruited, your recruiters know this data, they're going to be there too. So even though it may not be during their work hours, they figured it out that if they want to connect with their audience, they are going to be on Instagram during those times, during those high activity times as well. So it gives you that opportunity to, especially if you're job seeking and maybe you can't do it during work because you're actually working as well, then you can have that opportunity to do some of this activity even at night while maybe you're also watching your Netflix show. Video is the hot thing right now. Posting your video on Instagram is going to be much more engaging than just posting a post. If you're a job seeker, I'm not talking about posting your, quote unquote, video resume. I'm talking about posting video of you maybe doing something professional, a speaking engagement, or something with your team. But remember, we're talking about social media, and so even a social and personal kind of video of yourself doing something, running or taking a walk or talking about a lesson you learned that day from your team while you're at home or outside, that's engaging. People want to be engaged. They want to hear your stories. They want to be engaged in your life. So the whole idea of a video resume where you're talking about all the great things you've done or a narration of your work history never really took on because it's not interesting to people. They want to hear those stories, maybe what you learned that day, the new technology that your company is integrating, a leadership lesson, something that's relevant and shows your skills, but is also something people can relate to and engage with. So I have some colleagues that do, kind of post their thoughts of the day. I have to be a little careful there. We're not talking about what you had for lunch and those type of things. We're talking about, a lesson you learned that other people could learn from, or they're posting interesting facts. And don't be afraid to post videos that are personally engaging too. Videos of you doing something, I don't know, skydiving. It doesn't have to be that extreme, but videos of you doing something of your hobbies is also a way to engage people in that Instagram, something that people, again, might be interested in and watch. My husband, got a new skateboard, so he's posting a video of him riding his new skateboard. What can you do that engages people in who you are as a person? And then you can filter in some of those other posts that might be more professional. So how often do you want to post on Instagram? Research shows that major brands post 1 to 2 times a day, 1 post a day being considered low, 3 posts a day being considered high. You're not a major brand, maybe, so you don't have to do it that often, but that's the average. So if you're posting once a week, maybe on the low side, how could you do it a little bit more? If you're posting on Instagram 4 times a day, whoa, too much, probably turning off those people in your network that you're trying to build your brand with. So you can tone it down a little bit. I'm guessing most of you are on the low side and thinking about how you could work up to every other day or something that would be a little bit more consistent and a little bit more engaging for that audience. Now, on other channels, we talk a lot about curating content. So on Twitter, you might retweet someone's content. On LinkedIn, you might share someone else's article. That's this curation of content, which is sharing other people's content. Interestingly enough, on Instagram, that's not a thing. People don't do that. And if you are posting a lot of articles that other people have written, your engagement's going to be fairly low. You really need to have something that is engaging to your audience, or do that infrequently. So you're going to be posting your own stuff. Again, you're posting those visuals, which might be memes that are quotes from other people. You probably want to be careful about tempering even that. Instagram is really about you and people interacting with you, engaging with you. So if you want to be on Instagram, you'll first want to sit down and figure out what about you you're going to be sharing there so that people can engage with it. When we're too impersonal or kind of use it the same way we would some of those other mediums, it's not going to work. Now, if you're a company, you want to be careful about how, you might share some research or white papers or some of those things, but again, you're still wanting to share that engaging content and kind of original content as much as possible. So pictures of people using your products or videos of people, your employees, that's fine. But it has to be kind of that new, fresh content, not an article from 10 years ago that might work on LinkedIn, probably isn't going to work on Instagram. So it's that more immediate interaction. Video getting the most engagement, and then, of course, Instagram getting more engagement than a lot of the other mediums because it's all pictures, and pictures get 40% more engagement than text posts, even on something like LinkedIn or Facebook. So you're posting once a day, maybe 2 times a day max, depending on how big your brand is there on Instagram or how big you want it to be. You're posting in the morning, in the middle of the night, or maybe you're programming that post to go out in the middle of the night, most likely. And really, of course, just like any other social media, it's about engaging with other people who are following you, other people who are part of your community there on Instagram, and building that community for yourself. We're going to take another short break. When we come back, we'll kind of give the highlights here of how you can use Instagram for your job search, how you can use Instagram to build your company brand, and a few quick tips for if you're just getting started. We'll be right back in just a few minutes.
The business community's first choice in Internet Talk Radio, Voice America Business Network.
You know that the career landscape has changed and that you need to be proactive about managing your career. You can have the foresight, skills, and confidence you need to take charge of your career and seize opportunities. A strategic advantage and career expert, Marie Zimenoff has helped thousands of leaders like you get focused, get found, and get hired. Visit GetCareerSmart.com to find out more. That's GetCareerSmart.com or call 800-521-2080 to schedule your complimentary consultation.
We hear it and read about it every day in the news.
America is heading over a fiscal cliff. Home prices are still receding and unemployment growing.
How can you preserve and increase your wealth in this kind of economy? Tune in to Turning Hard Times into Good Times with host Jay Taylor. Jay will explain the decline of our monetary system and the economy, and will give you winning investment ideas and the tools to protect and increase your wealth. Turning Hard Times into Good Times with Jay Taylor can be heard Tuesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, 12 noon Pacific Time on the Voice America Business Channel.
Many industries have been revolutionized by technology in the last decade. Books, music, TV, communications, and now it's happening to our money and the way we pay. Tune in to Breaking Banks with Brett King for a look at how technology and customer behavior will bring about more changes in banking in the next 10 years than in the last 200 years. Listen every Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, noon Pacific on Voice America Business Channel or on AM 1160 The Voice. You'll never look at your bank account the same again.
Become our friend on Facebook. Post your thoughts about our shows and network on our timeline. Visit Facebook.com/Voice America.
When it comes to business, you'll find the experts here. Voice America Business Network.
You are tuned in to The Career Confidant with Marie Zimenoff. If you have a question or comment for Marie or her guest today, please call 1-866-472-5790. That's 1-866-472-5790. You may also send an email to marie@astrategicadvantage.com. Now, back to The Career Confidant.
All right, so today we've been talking about Instagram and how you can use it for your career, for your job search, or for your business. Now, a lot of bigger businesses, of course, have already figured this out, but if you're just starting a business, this may be something that's a little bit more daunting to you. I know that for my colleagues in the careers industry, for instance, there's not very many people on Instagram or really using Instagram for business. Like, I'm there, but I don't post there very often. I forget to post there instead of Facebook. I'm one of those millennials that still is on Facebook because that's where my family is, and mostly I'm sharing family stuff there and trying to figure out how to integrate Instagram into that personal and professional world, because of course teaching this stuff, I know it only works if you do both the personal and professional. So why does Instagram matter? Why do we care? The business reasons. So people engage with brands on Instagram 10 times more than Facebook. Facebook's had a hard time with this because of the ads and the way the ads work. And, it's kind of hard for people to engage with brands on Facebook because you have to pay, and then it shows up as an ad, and people don't interact with an ad even when it's something they could interact with. Like, for instance, I see on Facebook ads for the railroad industry posting jobs all the time. Something I could interact with, but I probably am not going to because it's labeled as an ad. Our psyche kind of works that way. So it's more likely that if the railroad people were on Instagram and they posted a video or a job about working at the railroad, I'd be more likely to like it, share it, send it to one of my friends who I think might want to work there, etc. So people are also more likely to engage with brands 54 times more likely than Pinterest. So they're 54 times more likely to engage with a brand on Instagram than with on Pinterest. Again, I think that kind of goes back to some of the watering down of Pinterest with all of those infographics, great and fun, but not necessarily purposeful. And people engage with brands on Instagram 84 times more than on Twitter. Twitter's kind of become a place for certain communities that are really tight, but not getting that much engagement. And, Twitter tried to launch a video channel which is Periscope. Didn't get that much traction, didn't get that much interaction. Not sure if they were just late to the game or Instagram had already picked up more of the following there. So they just have more people actually engaged than those other mediums. 71% of brands have accounts on Instagram. Not quite sure what they mean by that, but maybe 75% of companies have some kind of bigger companies have some kind of presence there on Instagram. And this is why it's good for all of the reasons we've been talking about it today. It's growing, lots of people are there, and the people who are there are really engaged. This means that no matter what you want to use it for, you're likely to find an engaged usership. If your companies are there at all, they're there because they want to be engaged, and if they have any kind of presence there, they're going to engage with you because that's what Instagram's all about. If you comment or like or interact with their posts, they're going to interact back with you. That's the beauty of this platform, and people don't make it very long if they don't do that. So if you want to use it for yourself, of course, the first thing is that strategy. So figuring out what themes of messaging are you going to share, personal, professional, or if you are at a company, kind of that brand, the company brand piece. If you're an individual at a company, if you run an individual company, you'll still want to have that same balance. So maybe you sell a product like Mary Kay or Rodan and Fields. If all you ever post is that, you'll have a very low level of interaction because you're a person first and then a salesperson of that product second. So you kind of want to find that balance of personal and professional, similar to what a job seeker might, maybe 50-50. If all you ever do is post about your brand that you're trying to sell, it's not going to work. For a company, of course, it's a little bit different because they have an opportunity to have multiple people out there talking about their product. And each of those individuals is going to want to find that balance. And then if they have a corporate Instagram, you can get away with a little bit more posting of that kind of brand marketing, but they're still going to have a low engagement if they aren't also sharing things that people can engage with, even if they're not going to buy something. So that tone and voice is really important for all of us. Finding a consistent tone, a consistent voice. What is it that you want to share? Do you want to be inspiring? Are you going to be fun? One of those people who's provocative and always posting kind of the challenge of things. You inspirational, informative. Be careful with informative. You overdo that one, you bore people. But thinking about that voice and what you want to share. And of course, you're going to be sharing that visually, not just in the captions you might post to those pictures, but what visuals are you going to choose and how are you going to make those come together? When you post on Instagram, you're building your profile in a much different way than you would on LinkedIn, right? Where on LinkedIn you have all of this content and copy that you've written. On Instagram, your profile really is the collection of pictures that you've shared. So after you start sharing, you might go in and kind of look at your profile and see that collection of pictures. And what is that saying about you? Is that what you want it to say about you? Is it the right mix of personal and professional? That narrative is really built through pictures, not through any kind of writing. So when people look at your pictures, do they get an idea of who you are personally and professionally? And that gathering of pictures, does that tell the story you want it to tell? Because that really is your profile, that collection of pictures that you've shared. And then at each time you share, you're thinking about telling the story through the picture and then any caption that you have, realizing that the picture will be what people see most often. They'll have to kind of click through to see the content that you posted along with it. As we talked about before, consistency is key on any social media. So before you dive into Instagram, you'll create your strategy. When are you going to post? How frequently do you want to post? If you can't post 1 to 2 times a day yet, that's fine. Post once a day, post 3 times a week. Just do it consistently. If this is a place where you really want to build your brand, you've done the research, you know that it's the right thing for you or for your company, build in that consistency piece. And then start to build that community for yourself. Connect with other people who are influencers in your industry. Connect with those people who are already your loyal customers, your raving fans. Connect with them and let them share your message for you. Let them help promote you. And that works for individuals as well as for companies. So if you're job searching, connect to those colleagues who might help show your message. Connect to, your former colleagues who might share that with a bigger audience. And then, of course, follow those target audiences. And then, just like any other social media, but maybe even a little bit more, Instagram is a place for fun. So be careful about how deep you go there, how serious you are. You're going to have to weave those things in as well. What does your audience have an appetite for? You can do a little bit of that research too. What are your competitors doing that are getting connections or getting engagement, and what's not? Test your own posts. What gets engagement and what doesn't, and what seems to be something that people want to engage with. So hopefully you've learned a little bit about using Instagram for your career or job search, and definitely that idea of going and doing the research to find out if that's the place you want to be, or if any of these other social media are a place you want to be to build your brand. We'll be back right here again next week on The Career Confidant. In the meantime, you can connect with me at Marie, M-A-R-I-E, at careerthoughtleaders.com. We look forward to your questions or ideas for future shows. We'll see you right back here again next week on The Career Confidant.
Thank you for listening to The Career Confidant. Marie Zimenoff will return again with another terrific guest next Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 3 p.m. Pacific on the Voice America Business Channel. Be sure to join us then.